I'm Corinna Love with Vegan Green Planet, and today I have the lovely Ingrid Newkirk of PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world. And they have how many members? 3 million?
3 million, yes, yeah. On the money, yep.
That's amazing. So I feel very honored to have you.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure entirely. Thank you very much.
So we have quite a few questions from the Vegan Green Planet followers.
I'm afraid it probably never ever will, because the torture of human beings goes on and we'll never end that. But what we have to do is make people more civilized, more understanding, more respectful, so that we can reduce the torture of any living being, and that's what we're setting out to do, and everyone can do their part. Well, I think it's marvelous that the milk people are so threatened by the soy and oat milk and almond milk industry that they've had to get together and come up with a brand new campaign. And what's even better is that they're calling it Get Real, because that allows us to slap on the words fat, zits, all cancer, all these things. So it can be get real fat, get real zits, get real cancer, get real whatever it is, because milk is linked to all those horrid things that nobody wants. Mm-hmm. And so it allows us to use their campaign, turn it around against them, and get people thinking about the ill health consequences of drinking real milk.
Mm. Great, and so you've already started this dairy campaign?
We've just heard the announcement, and our advertising team is already making the stickers that will go on the commercials.
I love it.
Well, one sentence won't be enough, and bless her heart for asking that question, because it is so mean and nasty and cruel, and the people who put out this slanderous stuff are hidden. It's the meat industry, and it is people who have no idea. Some people who work their organization out of a mailbox who say, how dare we euthanize? And of course they don't use the term euthanize, they use the term kill, which frightens people. But we have a shelter, just one, in some of the most poor pockets of North Carolina and Virginia. And we allow people who have absolutely no funds, can't afford veterinary care, to bring us aged, aggressive, ill, injured animals for free euthanasia because they cannot afford to go to the vet. And that is the majority that we euthanize, and the photographs of them are on our website. But that figure is the tiny, tiny percentage of the millions of animals that we help through spay and neuter, not only ads, but with a whole fleet of little clinics that go out into these areas. We transport the animals for nothing. We sterilize them so that they won't make more unwanted animals to end up on chains. We provide free medical care, counseling so that people don't give up their animals, dog houses, free straw in winter, you name it, we do it. And so we do perform free euthanasia for indigent people who have animals in terrible condition. But to characterize us as killers of animals, when we'd never kill an animal for a sandwich or a coat, all we do is an act of mercy for those who really have nothing else to offer, anybody to offer them. That's it. It's a great question, and I am painfully aware of it. If you get a chance to see the film Cowspiracy, I think in that they do such a good job of pinpointing how the environmental groups are ignoring the destruction to the planet, all the detrimental things that are happening environmentally because of animal-based agriculture. meat and dairy production is destroying the entire earth. It destroys the animals, destroys our health, it's destroying the whole earth. And there is nothing more important than trying to stop it. I take some encouragement from the fact that more and more people are going vegan. And it's up to us, each one of us, to get as many people as possible to try that faux chicken or that soy milk or whatever it is that we can get them to taste so they can make the transition.
Yes. I'm one of those.
Good.
Yes. I'm in the grocery store and I'll see someone with a carton of milk and I will actually say something like, did you know that came from a baby? And people don't know.
Oh, it's perfect. You have to say something. And the grocery store it's just the best place.
Yeah.
I sometimes get in conversations with the checkout person.
Yes, I always do.
Everybody hears.
Yeah.
Say, look at these fabulous vegan sausages.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, ooh, what have we got?
Yeah.
So
That's a great way.
And kids in the schools, vital. And, get on food committees. Actually, there are a lot of laws. Dogfighting is prohibited at a federal level. Owning dogfighting paraphernalia, like treadmills and slings and so on for dogfighting, is already illegal. And the penalties depend on the judge, because the judge can throw the book at a dogfighter. You can be incarcerated for a long time for dogfighting if you take each individual act as a separate count of breaking the law. So it really depends on the courts. It is getting better, because ever since Michael Vick, I think people woke up to the fact this goes on. And of course he served time. In my book he should still be in jail, but at least he did serve time. Absolutely. And we plot and plan every single week of different things we can do. And we have a huge presence on the internet now, especially for young people, with catchy little things like bacon in 30 seconds. So people think, oh, well, look at that. And in 30 seconds, they get an incredible education about how a little piglet becomes rashers of bacon. We have also iChicken, which has got some good press, and we have big plans to have more of these virtual reality experiences. So that's going very well.
Yes.
And in fact, the business press is picking up on veganism now. We just have to keep plugging away as hard as we can and as fast as we can. We don't have anything at the moment other than our initiative during the Detroit water crisis, when we pointed out that actually what's taking so much of the water is animal-based agriculture. And we advertised, and it was well covered in the press, for anybody who couldn't pay their water bill, if they would go vegan for a month, we would pay their water bill for them. And some lovely people came forward who'd never thought of going vegan in their entire lives, and their whole families supported them. And they went vegan for the month, and some of them are sticking with it. Others of them are partially vegan now. But there are these terrible poverty pockets, of course, where people are eating the worst of foods, and it's a desert, a food desert for anything healthy. And we do publish cheap ways to eat, that how beans and rice, which is a staple in many countries, certainly was in Mexico forever, can be very, very cheap and yet provide you with all the nutrients that you need. So we do a little bit of work, but not a lot on that. We mostly try to get all the consumers who are in the supermarkets and other places, in the schools, in clubs, to push to get vegan options and to get vegan products on the shelves. And where our school program is going gangbusters. We do have almost every school now has either a vegan meal line or a vegan entree or something, just because people have asked. Mali is this elephant who is in the Philippines, in Manila. And she's one of several elephants we're trying hard to get out. We do have people in the Philippines who are campaigning for her, and wonderful people have signed petitions to get her out. The government is being very stubborn. She's the only remaining elephant there. She's all alone, and she has been since her partner died many years ago. It's going to take probably a miracle to get her out, but if we can find one, we'll use it. I think people need to sign on. People need to write to the government. We have something on our website. We also need to get out Nosy, who is this elephant in the US who needs to be free. And others. There's one at the Virginia Natural Bridge Zoo who's all alone, who needs to get out. So there are several elephant campaigns. And this year, the end of last year rather, we managed to get out Sunda, the elephant who was beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten.
Wow, that was awful.
And we also have an elephant in India called Ram Prasad, who just killed somebody because a crowd was throwing yellow dust into his eyes, and he didn't know what they were doing. He thought they were attacking him, and so he ran amok and killed somebody. And now he's in chains, all four legs, and we need to get him out. So come to the website. We need to stop Ringling too.
Yeah. Oh, please.
And Carson and Barnes, all of that lot need to get the elephants out. And it's people are waking up, as they once did with whales, to who elephants are.
Yes.
So we need to just tell everybody. Oh, no. It's actually the opposite. I'm so glad you asked this, because the woman getting attacked says to everyone, if you won't accept this violence, then you can't possibly accept some other living being attacked for their coat, the way the seals are bludgeoned or the foxes are skinned. So it's actually an anti-violence message. I hope nobody is taking it as a violent message. I suppose people can interpret things all sorts of ways. And the ball players that we use for the ink rather than mink and all this never hold a leather ball.
Yeah,
Never, ever.
I never thought that they would with PETA, no.
No. It cost us a lot of time and effort and money and botheration. It honestly did. Yes, they overstepped and decided that environmentalists and animal people could be surveyed and harassed because of 9/11. They took liberties they never should have. But we emerged unscathed and stronger than ever. And I think history will damn them for what they did. I hope it's not the same thing.
You hope it's not what?
The same thing, to be proud and disappointed. I don't know about proud, but happy that we've stopped so many experiments on animals. Disappointed that we haven't stopped all animal experiments. Happy that I think PETA has so many wonderful supporters, and we have wonderful staff, people who really care. And that to me is the core of it. And that, if anything, would make me proud. It certainly makes me happy. I think it will be disappointing to me to have to age and die, but I am happy that there are all these other wonderful people who will keep animal rights strong and keep PETA strong. Well, I always have the same goal, and it's been the same since we started, which is to get people to open their eyes, open their hearts, open their minds to who animals are. Not to steal from them, not to kill them, not to see them as things, but to realize they're just like us, and to have some understanding, to be decent to them, and more than anything, to not go along with the fact that society hurts them, but always do what you do in the supermarket, is say something, do something, get people to see the options, cook for them, bring them things, give them gifts that are animal friendly, turn them on to veganism in every possible way, and then we'll get there quicker.
I agree with that.
I think it's very easy to go vegan. You just need somebody who is already vegan to show you how. Latch on to somebody who can take you grocery shopping. Latch on to someone who can go through what you like to eat and veganize it. Latch on to someone who knows the good stuff and can show you the way. You need a friend, you need a buddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He told me that he has a hard time because his parents are against it, which is really the difficult part for him.
Well, you know, one thing that might be good is that parents always think their kids are going through fads. And they don't recognize a good fad from a bad fad, or a good habit from a bad habit sometimes. And if they're worried about him and they have old-fashioned ideas about health,
Right.
PCRM.org,
I love them.
Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine.org, is a parent site. Because it will immediately convince them that this is the healthiest thing their child has ever done, and in fact that they should go along and help and be part of it. So PCRM.org, I think, is a child's friend and a parent's resource.
That's great to know.
There are wonderful people working on this, but we have such a hard time with the cattle barons, the cattle industry. I mean, we know that we've got people in the cattle business who won't pay their land taxes, won't pay for their water use, and are starting these ag-gag bills all over the country. We've managed to defeat a lot of them, but they pop up all the time. And they are hell-bent in not having any restrictions on what they call livestock, the manner in which it's transported, captured, or shipped overseas. I think that will take a while, because at the moment there are so many representatives who are taking money from those industries. And the animal rights movement isn't a competitor in the financial realm. But anyone who cares about this must make a point, I think, of getting to know their representatives, going to their representatives, whatever they call them nowadays, they used to call them clinics, but going to see their representatives when they come home, even going to Washington and seeing them, so that they know that people don't want this to happen, and that people will be contributors or not.
Do you think petitions are going to help that?
I don't, actually. I think that all they listen to is their contributors.
So
that's the state of
calls.
legislation now.
It is it? Petitions aren't working as well on anything?
The petitions are fine to do, and petitions give you a community of people who can learn what's happening and can take action in other ways. But I don't think that politicians are paying much attention to petitions. They're paying more attention, I should put it that way, to phone calls and funding. They want to see who is giving them money, and then they'll listen to them.
Wow, great. Figures. Money is always in it.
It is in this. No, we've rescued so many pit bulls. That would be quite amazing. I think what you have picked up on is that we say that pit bulls obviously started with fighting, and they've been bred to have extremely big chests and heavy jaws. They've also been, sadly, bred so that if they get into a fight, it's very hard to get them out of it. You know, if a poodle starts fighting with a chihuahua, you can break that up. You get two pit bulls fighting, or a pit bull who's decided that they don't like somebody, it's very, very hard to get them apart, and they do much more damage, of course, by the very nature of how humans have bred them, than, say, a terrier or a hound. So what we've said is, we need to ban all breeding, for sure, but bully breeds first. I think is that if any legislator is going to listen, they may listen to the fact that we don't need any more purebred puppies of any sort. We've got all these animals in the shelter, including wonderful pit bulls, but we really do not need to keep breeding pit bulls and other bully breeds. It's a big campaign. We were just on Capitol Hill. We were just giving a briefing to legislators. because NIH listens to legislators, and that's where they get all their money, is from the Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to get the Congress to take very seriously that infant monkeys should not be taken away from their mummies and then frightened by men who stare at them. Monkeys don't like to be looked at in the face, or who frighten them with rattles and snakes and all these other things that they do. We're fighting vigorously. We have ads on all the buses around NIH and the subways around NIH.
That's great.
People can't miss the fact there's a campaign. But NIH is very high-handed, and they've actually refused a congressional investigation before. We'll see where it goes, but we will end them with everybody's help. We will end these absolutely horrific deprivation experiments.
And aren't they funded by the CIA?
Well, it's very interesting actually, because the CIA developed those torture experiments of how to break down one of the prisoners that they had taken in after 9/11 and maybe shipped to a black site in some other country. They learned how to reduce them to basically a shivering, quivering mass of jelly by looking at the learned helplessness experiments in dogs. And the government has received tons of money. Psychologists have received lots of money for looking at how you torture baby monkeys by removing them from everything that they know and care about and that gives them security. So yes, they are related to, they torture themselves, and they're related to the CIA's torture. I think anything you do is useful, but we look at where are the largest numbers of animals being hurt in the greatest way for the longest time. And also, if we stop one particular thing, will it have a knock-on effect and stop other things like it? And so that's usually our criteria. But of course we get so many whistleblower calls about cruelty. And we see so much abuse in all manner of ways animals are used that it's very hard to prioritize. But that's how we try.
What about factory farming? Don't you think that's the number one?
Well,
abuse?
everyone eats. Everybody eats.
Right.
So if we stopped factory farming, we'd stop, and we stopped eating animals, and eating animals these days depends on factory farming, then we'd stop killing, I think it's 1 million chickens an hour, and all the other fishes, and because now we have fish factory farming. So yes, factory farming, mass transport, slaughterhouses, all solved by going vegan.
Well, I have to say thank you so much for being here. And may we all have the strength, love, compassion that you have to be able to go out into this world and do what you're doing is just amazing. I don't know any person like you, and I find you to be the most powerful woman in the world to do what you do.
Karen, you are very, very kind, but it's not true, because each one of us is so powerful. We just have to find our voices. Each one of us is a consumer. We can change the market. And I couldn't do anything like what PETA does if we didn't have people fueling the fires, people being active, and people never, ever, ever being silent in the face of abuse.
I use your quote all the time, never be silent.
That's it. We have to be the squeaky wheel.
Yes. Well, thank you so, so much for being here today.
Thank you, Ken.
And to all my Vegan Green Planet people out there, I'm very blessed to have you. Thank you, Ingrid, again. Very blessed.
Thank you all.